What's good? It's your boy 2K here. Shout out to the movement and everybody who's moving with us. Well, it's exactly what I've been saying, man. Adrien Broner, there's really nowhere for AB to go. And, you know, honestly, this isn't really about who won between he and Jessie Vargas. It's really about what I actually seen this entire 12-round fight against a guy who I've never really respected as a very high-quality fighter, right? I do respect Jessie Vargas as a fighter because he's one of those guys that has the fighter's mentality. He'll fight anybody, anytime, any place, anywhere, right? But when you look at him in the ring and the skills that he manifests, he's not that good of a fighter. Even though he is a two-time champion, beating Khabib for the WBA title at 140. And then, of course, he defeated Saddam Ali by knockout at 147 for the WBO title. He's one of those multi-champions who are actually just B-level fighters, right? One fighter that comes to mind that has these same kind of accolades who really wasn't that good of a fighter is Rocky Martinez, down at 130. You know what I'm saying? So Jessie Vargas is one of those guys. And watching AB literally fight to a draw against a guy of this particular skill set tells you that AB is probably no longer, at any point in his career going forward, will he ever be considered an elite fighter again. See, and I've said this before, you know, I talked about on another video where I said Wikipedia had Adrien Broner listed as a gatekeeper, and I went down and pretty much broke down what a gatekeeper really is relative to a journeyman, relative to a contender, a prospect, a champion, etc., right? And also said that AB is a gatekeeper within the 147-pound division, but he could not be a gatekeeper. He could actually be a contender within 140, given the people who are down there. Now, since 140 has become hot with the addition of Mikey Garcia, who of course just recently vacated the IBF 140-pound title, but he's still talking about campaigning there. With the addition of him, you've got guys like Regis Prograis. You've got Jose Ramirez, who just beat Amir Imam, right? You still have Victor Postal there, who's a wild card. 140 has become hot, and it's become a situation where, shit, I don't really know if AB can actually, you know, win a title at 140. You know what I'm saying? So it's become a situation, man, where AB is gonna have trouble ever becoming a champion again unless his handlers, Al Heyman, everybody else who's around his team, they're gonna be able to get him in a situation similar to the one that they got him with Khabib right after losing to Sean Porter. It'll have to be a situation like that where it's set up just for AB to get that title again. You know what I'm saying? And even then, just the way he's looked against guys like Adrian Granados, Jessie Vargas, I'm not exactly sure this motherfucker can win, right? I had Vargas winning this fight. I had him winning 7-5. I had the fight even. In the 10th round, I had it 5-5, and I gave the 11th and 12th round to Jessie Vargas simply because in the 11th round, he went back to being the Vargas he was early in the fight, utilizing his jab from the outside, keeping Adrien Broner at bay, turning him into a pressure fighter, right? Adrien Broner was trying to cut the ring off and shit like he was a Gennady Golovkin type of pressure fighter in order to get inside of Jessie Vargas' jab and be able to come over the top of it, right? That's pretty much what Adrien Broner was able to do. I think a lot of the rounds that AB won was because Jessie Vargas allowed AB to get on the inside of him by electing to fight on the inside and not stand on the outside. If you watch that fight over again, you'll see Jessie Vargas said, fuck it, I'm going to make this a phone booth type of fight. Well, what that did in turn was it gave Adrien Broner a multitude of opportunities to get off. AB's an accurate ass puncher. So if you give him the fucking distance, you give him the range to get his punches off, he's more than likely going to hit you with about 70% of his shots. You see what I'm saying? And that's what Jessie Vargas did by electing to be on the inside instead of staying on the outside. But in that 11th round, he stayed on the outside. He dictated the pace with the jab. And then in the 12th round, neither fighter really did much, but Jessie Vargas still won the ring generalship battle which is one of the 4 criteria for judging, and actually, in my opinion, the most important of the 4 criteria of judging. And I believe he won that one in the 12th round. So I have Vargas winning this fight. I don't have too much of a problem with the draw, you know what I'm saying? But really, that's not my intent of this video. It's really about Adrien Broner, man. I mean, he's fallen so far from grace, it's not even funny. And you see after the fight, he's talking shit. You know what I'm saying? Nigga, I whooped your ass, nigga. Nigga, I fucked your face up, nigga. All of that bullshit, right? But it's funny because he's arguing with a guy who's really a B-level fighter, which is a whole grade lower than what Adrien Broner thinks of himself, who will not be able to beat the Keith Thurmans, the Errol Spencers, the Terrence Crawfords, the Danny Garcias, right? Hell, I don't know if Jessie Vargas can beat Lamont Peterson, right? If Kell Brook comes back to 147, I don't have Jessie Vargas beating Kell Brook either. When those two were supposed to fight a year and a half ago, I had Kell Brook winning that fight. You see what I'm saying? So Adrien Broner's really relegated himself down to being just a B-level fighter arguing with other B-level fighters for a place at 147. Shit's sad, man. Now, Kevin Cunningham was in his corner and shit, of course. That's the trainer for Devin Alexander. The question that's been posed on social media right after this fight was, hey, man, so how did Kevin Cunningham do? My opinion, there's really nothing that you can do. I told Cats before, man, there's nothing that a new trainer can give a fighter like Adrien Broner, because he is a fighter who listens to himself and himself only, right? Understand, Mike Stafford is a great amateur trainer, but as he's becoming a trainer in the pros, he's become nothing more than a fucking yes man, right? Adrien Broner yells at him. Go back and look at the Marcos McDonough fight when AB was getting his ass waxed all over the motherfucking canvas, right? He gets up and immediately starts yelling at Mike Stafford. When they get in the corner and Mike Stafford tries to give him some fucking advice, AB's yelling at him, I got this, right? Stafford's nothing but a fucking yes man. AB has been dealing with Stafford his entire career. Therefore, it is ingrained in his psyche to be the guy who will basically go to the beat of his own drum, right? So you could bring a guy like Kevin Cunningham in for motivational and discipline, right? And that's what he was in for, motivation and discipline. And I believe that he got AB disciplined enough to the point where he wasn't going to be partying 24/7 and training camp like he was prior. He did a little bit more training for this fight than he did in other fights. But at the end of the day, when they're in the ring, Adrien Broner's still going to do what the fuck he wants to do. And we've seen it in this fight. Kevin Cunningham told him plenty of times, gave him different types of instructions to go out there and execute, and Adrien Broner stayed doing the same shit over and over again, right? If it wasn't for Jessie Vargas actually eliminating the outside game and electing to go on the inside to give Adrien Broner more opportunities, I could definitely go back and find maybe 2 rounds if Jessie Vargas would have stayed on the outside pumping the jab like he did from round 1 through 4, right? I could definitely find 2 rounds in those middle rounds to give to Jessie Vargas if he would have just stayed on the outside, and he would have been walking home with a fucking win against Adrien Broner. But he didn't do that. And that's how Adrien Broner actually won his rounds. It wasn't because of Kevin Cunningham. It wasn't because he was actually executing the advice from Kevin Cunningham. It's because Jessie Vargas fought the wrong game plan for those middle rounds. So, as I said before, man, it doesn't matter if AB changes trainers or not. He's a head case. And a head case is somebody who will not listen to anyone when they need to listen to someone else. No matter how much their own advice doesn't help them. No matter how logical somebody else in their corner, on their team, by their side, no matter how logical their advice is, that particular person is still going to go by their own advice because they're a fucking head case. And that's AB. It is what it is. This fight tells me absolutely nothing. AB still gets trampled by anybody at 147. Actually, I'm thinking he might get trampled by a lot of the cats at 140 now. I might have to go back and retract my statement about him not being a gatekeeper at 140. He might just be a motherfucking gatekeeper at 140 looking at those guys down there. You know what I'm saying? We'll see what happens with AB, man. Good fight. I actually enjoyed the fight. But as far as what AB is capable of, he had a terrible performance in my opinion. Oh yeah, and before I end this shit, y'all heard the music that AB came to the ring to, right? Motherfucker was bumping that Torquisha 6ix9ine and shit. You know what I'm saying? Rainbow Bright. Yo, I knew that beef was fake. That's why I didn't cover it. You know what I'm saying? I could have covered it for clicks. I'm not about that. You feel me? I'm only gonna bring the real on this channel, and I knew that shit was fake from fucking day one. It is what it is. YouTube, do what you do in the comment section. Be real. Let me know what you think. This is real talk for real fans. 1.